Hey guys, so welcome to part 4 of this little mini series. This is where it gets real. Choices and decisions. These are the fundamental nitty-gritty of any game book. There's no getting away from them, there's no escaping them. It's an area of game book writing that I really struggled with at first. In fact, I was probably quite horrible at it, if I'm being honest. So here is your chance to learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to share with you how I improved my game book writing. So in the sort of previous vids that I've done, we've kind of looked a lot at the background fluff, the stuff that helps strengthen your game and your story. But here we are, and this is what really matters, and it's choices. After all, that is what interactivity is all about. It's the reason why we aren't writing a novel. There's something in us as a writer that we want to capture something different, a more dynamic and exciting narrative experience for the reader that a regular novel just can't deliver. So let's start at the beginning. Guys, I messed up. I messed up big time. At the start of my writing career, I created the Legion of Shadow, and despite all of its wonderful success and mostly positive reception, it had its flaws. And I think it's fair to say that choices was one of them. When I wrote that book, I think I probably had tunnel vision in a way, in that I wanted to create a Diablo-esque World of Warcraft experience of battling and looting. It was almost a little bit Dark Souls inspired too. And I focused much more on the choices that come in customizing your hero through the different equipment, the special abilities, the different builds that you could create. But in doing that, I didn't really focus enough on story choices. And that was a big, big mistake. So I listened to the feedback and criticism, and it was plain as day that my readership and the community wanted more choice, and for those choices to have meaning and repercussions. I got that. So, I immediately stepped things up with The Heart of Fire, my second book, and The Eye of Winter's Fury. With each book, I kept trying to push myself to be a better writer. And I was just trying to get better at something that just wasn't coming naturally to me. I found choices hard. They are hard to do. There's no getting away from it. And even though I felt that I was, improving, I never felt satisfied with the results. And it was just like I was missing something mentally. Then I discovered a game that basically changed my entire perspective on interactive writing. That game was The Walking Dead by Telltale Games, which is now distributed by Skybound Games. I mentioned the game in my introduction. I actually played it sometime after its initial release, so it would have been around 2013, and I was just finishing up my third book, The Eye of Winter's Fury, and I was starting to think about my next book in the series. So for those readers and fans that have followed my series, I think it's probably plain as day that there is a huge seismic shift in the level of my writing between The Eye of Winter's Fury and Raiders of Dune Sea. And The Walking Dead was 100% responsible for that. So I know you're screaming at the screen and going, why, Michael? Why? Tell us more. Okay, in essence, The Walking Dead, it's a choose-your-own-adventure story. You make choices for your main character as you react to the environment and the situations you're confronted with. What blew me away with this game was the tough decisions it would present you with. These felt huge from a character and narrative perspective. The game would force you into making difficult decisions, from the sort of in your face big decisions of who do you save from certain death. But there was a lot more sort of subtle decisions that you've been making very frequently about who do you trust, who do you lend your support to at a given moment, who do you betray, who might you openly lie to, and so on. So what hit home for me was just how nuanced these choices were. They never felt black and white. They never felt like there was an obvious choice or route to go down. In fact, it was kind of like the absolute opposite, because often throughout the game, you'd be entangled in group politics of the people around you and their interrelationships. The game gives you no hand-holding at all. There's no suggestion by the game itself as to who you should be allying with or what the better moral choice would be. So you're completely left to your own devices to decide on the friendships that you value and the ethics and morals that you decide to follow. And these experiences would all come together to colour your decisions. It was really good. And what's important, obviously, is that there would be repercussions to your decisions. A decision could affect how a certain character might act towards you in the future. You might break their trust. You might turn them into an enemy, or draw closer to them as an ally and allow them to open up about other things about their character. That character might even die, and then you'd have to face that impact too, and how that affects future scenes of the story. So what I'm getting at is that the game throws a lot of decisions your way, and how you react could be very, very different to how somebody else reacts to those situations. And one of the aspects of the game that I thought was really powerful, there's a real sense of agency and responsibility that comes with the character you're in control of, which is Lee Everett. And and you get to kind of decide the type of person you want him to be. And there's no better example of that than the burgeoning relationship between Lee and Clementine in season 1. Clementine, she's only 8 years old and has lost her parents and is kind of thrown into the horror and chaos of a zombie apocalypse. And we know as Lee, and we know ourselves as readers and fans of the genre, how bad things are going to get in this world. So I think the game very cleverly puts you in the role of a mentor figure that plays a significant role, and that plays a significant role into the decisions you make. So do you try and shield Clementine from, the horrors, of the world, to protect her childhood innocence? Or do you go completely the other route of, kind of training her to survive no matter the odds? I thought it was just a real powerful dichotomy. Do you show Clementine how to shoot a gun? Or instead do you just give her a hug and assure her that you'll always be there to be the one to protect her? So you can sort of see how, coming out of that game, it was my light bulb moment. It was just like lightning just striking me. It made me realise that as writers, we can skillfully create and manipulate situations where no two readers will make the same choice. So these are decisions that readers have to make where there's no black and white answer. It's all shades of grey. So I realised in some ways I'd been doing it all wrong. And now, when it came to the Raiders of Dune Sea, which is book 4, I could start to put into action what I'd learned, and hence that book obviously it's a better game book for it. And of course, I've continued to push myself with Wrath of Ragnarok, and my new book that's coming out in June, which again, I think, I'm just pushing myself with each book from not only just a storytelling aspect, but the choices that I'm giving readers. So let's take a look at an example of a possible choice in a fantasy game book, just so we can sort of see some of these elements in action in a practical way. So, let's take a look at this entry. You hurry along the overgrown path that twists and turns through the gloomy forest. Eventually, you reach a point where the path splits. Will you go left or go right? So here we can probably agree that there's nothing wrong with the description. We get the picture. But here's the issue. We have two choices, left or right. There's no motivation to choose one over the other. You could basically just flip a coin. It's not exactly presenting a great narrative moment or a memorable decision. So let's see if we can start to improve this. So let's add a little bit more detail. So let's add this extra paragraph. A rickety signpost leans out of the mud and foliage. The right-hand pointer is carved with the lettering East Haven. The left pointer is snapped off and offers no hint at its possible destination. Will you go left or go right? Now the reader is party to some information. If they go right, then they'll be heading towards the village of East Haven, which they might have heard about previously during their journey. It could even be their intended destination. But there's also the curious and unanswered question of the left-hand path. We don't know where it goes. So is it worth taking a look? Now the reader has a reason to sort of pause and deliberate over their choice. However, at present, there's still no real emotional attachment to those decisions. It's not really a kind of tough decision. Again, you could just potentially just flip a coin. So how about we just go a stage further and add another layer of detail to our description? You take a moment to get your bearings. As you do so, you notice the darkening skies to the east are lit with a flickering glow as if the horizon had been set on fire. To the west, you catch the distant sound of cries on the wind. Not far from the fork, there is the remains of a broken wagon and its ransacked cargo. Will you go left towards the broken wagon or go right towards the village of East Haven? Now we've kind of ramped up the tension. Is the village of East Haven on fire? Has it been attacked? Perhaps there's people there that need urgent aid. But what about the wagon and the cries that can be heard coming from the forest? Is there someone in danger? Or perhaps maybe with an adventurer's kind of hat on? Is there something worth looting from that wreckage? Now, the reader has a tough decision to make. It's no longer a coin flip because now there could be some obvious repercussions. And I think what is, powerful is that as a writer, you can feed into these decisions. And we can do that by laying some narrative breadcrumbs. So prior to this moment, the reader might have heard rumours of trouble and strife in the area. They might have discovered that there's a goblin warband in the area. They're riled up and they've been raiding settlements. Therefore, the reader might put, two and two together and work out that maybe the village of East Haven has been attacked. Also, the hero might be seeking information from a contact at the village. It could be the next part of a sort of quest. Therefore, it could be imperative to the reader that they reach that village, especially if it's under attack. However, we like to throw a spanner in the works, don't we? Perhaps they've already met the merchant who owns that wagon at a previous moment in the story or a previous settlement. And through dialogue, they've learned that that merchant had some incredibly precious cargo that they were eager to deliver to some reclusive wizard who lives deep in the woods. So immediately that decision of exploring the wagon and investigating the cries for help might actually take precedence over heading towards the village. So, you know, if the reader has uncovered some of this information, then this information might strongly influence their decision. And again, it's not black and white or a flip of a coin. Now, what we've done is we've taken something very basic and we've turned it into a tough decision, one that they are kind of now emotionally and intellectually invested in. So, to wrap up this video, hopefully you can see how choices can be made compelling to a reader. You want to put them in difficult and uncomfortable spots where there might not be a right or a wrong answer, and set up some of these future decisions with narrative breadcrumbs. And this can also reward the reader for, you know, having a better insight into a situation or a character moment. And always, if possible, ensure there are repercussions to the decisions that the reader is making, and that they get the chance to see or feel how that decision has impacted on the world. Yeah, these will make your books and stories more memorable. And of course, they will encourage that all-important thing that we, as gamebook writers, strive for, which is replayability. Because you can be guaranteed that the reader will be dying to know what would have happened if they'd gone down that other route. So anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you found something useful in this. Please smash that like button if you did. Leave some comments if you've got anything to add. And yeah, thank you for listening, and hopefully see you in the next video when I will be deep diving into character. So that should be an interesting one. Okay, cheers, thank you.